They've told you that if you want to build muscle, you need to live in the gym, that if you're not pushing for 2, sometimes even 3 hours a day, you're just not serious enough, that more time equals more gains. But that's the lie, the big one, and it's been drilled into your mind by influencers who confuse exhaustion with progress. The truth is, the body doesn't grow because of how long you train. It grows because of how effectively you stimulate it, and how well you allow it to recover. That's the real science, that's the truth they never tell you. Let me explain something most people overlook. Muscle growth is a signal, not a time-based event. What triggers that signal is intensity, focus, and form, not the ticking of the clock. Once you've hit that signal, staying longer doesn't help. It actually starts hurting you. After a certain point, cortisol, your stress hormone, begins to rise sharply. Your testosterone, which is key for anabolic muscle repair, starts to drop. Your energy systems become depleted, and your central nervous system, the thing responsible for power, balance, and coordination, begins to fatigue. So you're not just wasting time, you're literally working against your own biology. Now, I'm not saying don't work hard. I'm saying train smart. There's a big difference. You need to apply the right stress at the right volume in the right window, and that window is smaller than you think. When your training sessions stretch past 60 minutes, your hormonal profile starts shifting from anabolic muscle, building to catabolic muscle, breaking. And this isn't a theory, this is data backed by years of neuroendocrinology research. Let's take it a step further. When people say they're in the gym for 2 hours, what's really happening? A lot of it is fluff, scrolling between sets, talking, half-focused reps, junk volume. That's not dedication, that's distraction. True training isn't about how much you can endure. It's about how much you can focus. Give me someone who can lock in for 45 minutes with intention, intensity, and intelligent programming, and I'll show you someone who will outgrow the guy spending hours just going through the motions. There's also a psychological layer here. When you believe you need to train endlessly, you're setting yourself up for failure. You miss a session and guilt creeps in. You take a rest day and think you're falling behind. This creates chronic stress, and stress is a direct enemy of hypertrophy. It tightens your sleep, disrupts your appetite, and elevates inflammation throughout the body. So by chasing more hours, you're actually making it harder for your body to do what it's trying to do, grow. Now here's the good news. Once you unlearn this lie, you free yourself. You stop training out of anxiety, and you start training out of purpose. Your workouts become sharper. You start seeing progress because you're not constantly breaking your body down. You're allowing it to adapt, to rebuild, to thrive. You become consistent, and consistency is what drives real transformation. This is where science meets sustainability. If you understand the physiology, how the nervous system responds, how muscle protein synthesis works, how recovery enhances growth, then you realize that longer doesn't mean better. Smarter means better. Precision over duration, intensity over volume, adaptation over ego. They've been lying to you not because they want you to fail, but because they don't know any better. They confuse soreness with success, pain with progress. But muscle isn't built by punishment. It's built by stimulation followed by rest, repetition followed by recovery, and clarity followed by action. You don't need more hours. You need better ones. When it comes to building muscle, the question isn't how long did you train today? It's how effective was your session. Because the body doesn't care how much time you spent in the gym, it cares about what kind of signal you sent. And that signal can be sent in 45 minutes if you know what you're doing. That's the reality. The idea that you need to chase long workouts is not just misleading, it's holding you back from your full potential. Let's break it down. After about 45 to 60 minutes of intense, focused training, your body reaches a point of diminishing returns. Your neuromuscular system, your energy pathways, and your hormonal profile all begin to shift. You move from a state of optimal stress to chronic fatigue. Your muscles aren't being challenged anymore, they're being punished. The intensity drops, the quality of your movements fades, and what you're left with is just volume for the sake of ego. That's where people lose the plot. They think more is better, but in biology, more is often worse, especially when it comes to stress. Muscles grow when you give them a precise stimulus followed by rest and nutrition, not when you beat them into the ground hoping that fatigue equals growth. That's not how adaptation works. You can't force it. You can only invite it through the right type and amount of challenge. That's why I always emphasize quality over quantity. A well-designed 45-minute session can be more powerful than 2 hours of wandering from machine to machine, throwing in extra sets just to feel like you did something. If you focus on compound movements, squats, deadlifts, presses, pulls, and if you train them with intention, full range of motion, and controlled rest periods, your body gets everything it needs, and it gets it efficiently. There's also a neurological component to this. Your brain, your spine, your peripheral nerves, they have a finite capacity for output. You can't fire at maximum intensity for hours and expect the system to maintain sharpness. That's when form breaks down, that's when injuries happen, that's when progress stalls. You want to train while your nervous system is sharp and responsive, not when it's dull and drained. The truth is, if you give your all for 45 minutes, you'll walk out of the gym stimulated, not annihilated. You'll feel like you activated your body, not like you destroyed it. That's a key difference, and that approach is sustainable. It's something you can do consistently week after week without burning out, without hating the process, and without compromising your recovery. Think about this. The goal is to grow stronger, leaner, more resilient over time. That means your training has to fit into your life, not take over it. If every session becomes a marathon, you'll start skipping them. You'll dread them, you'll lose the spark. But if you walk in with a focused plan, execute it with precision, and get out before you hit the wall, you'll want to come back. And when you want to come back, you stay consistent. That's when the real gains begin. Let go of this idea that more equals better. Let go of the pressure to grind endlessly. Real strength comes from clarity, from understanding the science of your body, from realizing that 45 minutes of intensity beats 2 hours of distraction every single time. Because growth doesn't care how long you were there, it cares how deep you went. Train with purpose, not for time. Most people think muscles grow in the gym, that if you just lift heavy enough, train hard enough, sweat long enough, the muscle will come, but that's not how the body works. Muscle growth doesn't happen while you're training, it happens after. It happens in recovery. And if you don't understand this, you'll keep breaking your body down without ever giving it the chance to build itself back up. When you train, especially when you train with real intensity, what you're doing is sending a stress signal to your body. You're creating tiny microtears in the muscle fibers, you're depleting glycogen stores, you're challenging your nervous system. That's the breakdown phase. It's important, yes, but it's only one side of the equation. Without recovery, without sleep, without proper nutrition and downtime, that breakdown doesn't lead anywhere. It just stays broken. This is the piece most people miss. They glorify effort but overlook restoration. They think rest is weakness, that if they're not pushing every day, they're falling behind, but it's the exact opposite. If you don't rest, you don't grow, because your body needs space to respond to the stimulus you gave it. It needs time to repair the muscle tissue, to restore hormonal balance, to reinforce neural connections. That's what real adaptation looks like, and that happens while you sleep, while you eat, while you take time off the gym. Sleep, for example, is one of the most anabolic environments your body ever experiences. During deep sleep stages, your body releases growth hormone, a key player in muscle repair and overall recovery. Miss that window consistently, and you'll hit plateaus no matter how hard you train. The body simply won't have the resources to rebuild stronger than before. Nutrition, too, isn't just about fueling a workout. It's about giving your body the raw materials it needs to recover: protein to repair fibers, carbs to restore energy stores, micronutrients to regulate cellular function and inflammation. If you skip these, if you think training alone will get you there, you're setting yourself up for frustration. Recovery also includes active rest, things like walking, stretching, breathing work, or even just getting sunlight. These might seem small, but they shift your body into a parasympathetic state, the rest and digest mode where healing happens. And when that state becomes a regular part of your life, you begin to notice something powerful. Your sessions get sharper, your strength increases, your mood stabilizes, your motivation returns. That's what recovery delivers: not laziness, but readiness. You don't grow by doing more. You grow by doing enough, and then giving your body the chance to respond. That's the full cycle: stress, recovery, adaptation. Miss the middle, and you'll never reach the last. Your growth lives in the space between the sessions. There's this idea floating around that if you're not training 6 or 7 days a week, you're not doing enough. That if you're not constantly grinding, constantly pushing your body to the edge, someone else out there is outworking you and leaving you behind. But here's what's rarely said: more days in the gym doesn't automatically mean more results. In fact, for most people, training 4 days a week, sometimes even 3, is not only enough. It's optimal for muscle growth, energy, and long-term progress. Your body thrives on stimulus and recovery, not just relentless repetition. If you hit your training with real intensity, the kind that actually signals your muscles to grow, then you need time to let that stimulus take hold. Muscles don't grow when you train, they grow when you rest. So if you're training every single day without recovery, you're interrupting that process. You're constantly creating micro damage, but never giving your body the full opportunity to adapt and grow stronger. The key is efficiency, not frequency. If you're hitting your major muscle groups with compound lifts, pushing, pulling, squatting, hinging, and you're doing it with purpose, then a 3 or 4-day split allows enough volume, intensity, and rest to maximize muscle development. You're getting that balance between load and repair. That's where the progress lives. Now, let's talk about what happens when you go too far in the other direction, training every single day without fail. It might feel productive at first, but over time, your nervous system starts to dull. Your hormones begin to drift, cortisol stays elevated, testosterone might drop, sleep quality starts to suffer. You may not feel it right away, but it starts showing up in more subtle ways. Your lifts stall, your motivation dips, your recovery slows. You're no longer progressing, you're surviving. And here's the kicker: when you dial it back, when you allow more recovery, the gains come faster. Your performance improves, you bring more focus to each session, your muscles are primed, not fatigued, your mind is clear, not fogged by exhaustion. You begin to actually enjoy the process again. That's a massive advantage. There's also the psychological benefit. Training fewer days, but with higher quality, reduces burnout. It's sustainable. You don't feel like the gym is taking over your life. Instead, it becomes a powerful part of your life. And when something is sustainable, you stick with it. That's what builds real strength over time, not a short burst of 7-day grinds followed by injury or fatigue, but years of consistent, intelligent work. So if you've been telling yourself that you need to be in the gym every single day to make progress, pause for a moment and challenge that belief. Because the truth is, when you train right with intensity, precision, and intention, 3 or 4 days is more than enough. You don't grow by doing more, you grow by doing what matters most consistently. One of the most overlooked aspects of training is something you can't see in the mirror, can't measure with a tape, and yet it controls everything: your nervous system. You can have strong muscles, solid form, even a great program, but if your nervous system is fried, none of that will matter, because the nervous system is what powers the entire operation. It sends the signals. It fires the motor units. It controls your strength, your balance, your explosiveness, even your coordination. And when it's worn down, everything else goes with it. This is what happens when people push too hard, too often, without understanding what real fatigue looks like. It's not just sore muscles, it's waking up tired after a full night's sleep. It's feeling heavy under weights that used to feel light. It's a drop in motivation, in focus, in reaction time. That's nervous system fatigue. And once you hit that wall, no amount of caffeine or hype music is going to pull you through. You need real recovery. You need strategy. The nervous system doesn't bounce back as quickly as muscles do. Muscle tissue might feel fine after a day or two, but your central nervous system can take much longer to reset, especially if you're doing heavy compound lifts, high volume, or intense metabolic work. This is why intelligent training programs cycle intensity. They include deload weeks, rest days, and periods of lower stress, not because you're weak, but because you're human. And here's the critical point: when you train smart and give your nervous system space to recover, your performance goes up, your bar speed improves, your coordination sharpens, your reps feel clean, your reaction time tightens. That's what happens when your nervous system is fresh and firing properly. You become more athletic, more powerful, more precise, and those are the things that drive muscle growth sustainably over time. So if you've been hitting a wall, plateauing, or constantly dealing with little aches and tweaks, step back and ask yourself, are you training a muscle or just exhausting your system? Because real progress requires both power and recovery working together, not just brute force. Your strength lives in the nervous system. Protect it, and it will multiply everything you do. Building muscle isn't about chasing the extremes. It's not about seeing how far you can push yourself before something breaks. It's about finding a system you can repeat, not for days or weeks, but for months and years. That's the real game. That's where lasting transformation happens. Smart training isn't just about sets and reps. It's about understanding your body, respecting your limits, and creating a routine that fits your life, not one that burns you out. Too often people start with fire and intensity, thinking more effort will get them faster results. But what ends up happening? They go too hard, too fast, too often, and then they hit a wall mentally, physically, or both. The soreness stops feeling good. The motivation fades. The body starts breaking down instead of building up. That's the trap of unsustainable training. It's not a question of whether it works in the short term, it's whether you can keep doing it. Because if you can't, it doesn't matter how great your program looks on paper. The smarter approach is consistent, intentional effort, training with purpose, understanding that rest is part of growth, recognizing that your nervous system needs time to reset, that your muscles need time to adapt, that your joints, tendons, and ligaments, the stuff that keeps your body moving, don't recover overnight. They demand patience. When you follow a plan that honors that process, your results compound. Your strength goes up, your physique changes, your energy improves, but more importantly, you stay healthy. You stay motivated, and that consistency, that ability to show up again and again, becomes your biggest advantage. The best athletes in the world aren't the ones who go the hardest every day. They're the ones who can train, recover, and repeat. They know how to push, but they also know when to pull back. That's what makes them elite, not just their effort, but their control. So if your goal is to build muscle, don't chase what's extreme. Chase what's effective, sustainable, and aligned with your biology. That's where the real growth lives, in smart choices, repeated over time with intention. Muscle is built through consistency, not chaos. So now you know the truth. It's not about how many hours you grind, how many days you train, or how much you punish your body. It's about training with purpose, recovering with intention, and building a system that actually works with your body, not against it. The fitness industry sold you the lie that more is always better. But now you see clearly, smarter is better. Consistency beats chaos, recovery fuels growth, and true strength doesn't come from doing the most, it comes from doing what matters again and again over time. Strip away the noise, focus on the signal, train less, train smarter, and grow more.